Hello everyone and welcome to Claret and Booze. My name's Nick and this is my daily ramble. I hope you're all well. Today we're going to be talking about a lot. We've got a load to churn through today, so it's probably going to be a longer than usual daily ramble. But please stick with it because we've got some juicy news coming towards the end of the show. Well, actually all the way through it, to be quite honest. As always, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. It does really help us. We are marching towards that 10k, so every sub helps. And don't forget, drop a like on the video, drop a comment in there as well. Yeah, let's get on with the show. I've done a different overlay today so that we can keep track of our talking points. It's more for me than you. It's just so that I've got a guide because there's so much to talk about. Right now, David Moyes, I know you're going to all roll your eyes and go, oh, look, you know, what's going on? But even in light of the result that we had against Fulham, you know, the result that we all accept has been coming an awful long time. It's been dismissed, and you know, we've all heard the virus story that we're going to go on to talk about in a bit. But I just want to kind of try and look at this through a different pair of eyes, if you like, because we've been long told, people like us that kind of crow about, you know, entertainment and it's you know, we dismiss it's a results based business. So if you people look at numbers, you know, that you look at numbers, and like with most things, I think if you're looking at David Moyes and his bosses or his boss, David Sullivan, you know, if you're being appraised, usually it's on your previous 12 months. But I suppose if we're being kind, if we're going to be kind to David Moyes, let's give him 18 months. So there's been 55 games. Okay, 55 games since the start of last season. The previous season, he finished 7th, and then he went on in that summer window to spend 140 million. In fact, he spent 260 million between then and now. That's how much he's actually spent in that period. So 260 million pounds spent, 55 games in the Premier League. Okay, we do know about the European record. We're aware of that, but we're a Premier League team. This is where you judge the quality of the manager against the best teams around in the toughest competition around. We spend Premier League money, you expect Premier League results. And we all know that we had a 35-game relegation battle last year, which just gets ignored, you know. It's always 6th and 7th place. That's all that gets touted. Last year was an anomaly, apparently. But like I say, take entertainment and take everything else out of the argument altogether. We had 55 games. Now, since the start of that 22-23 season, we've conceded 85 goals in 54 games. 85 goals. And our goal difference over that time is minus 17. Now, in 54 games, we've won 18. That's all we've won. We've drawn 10, and we've lost 26. So basically half. We've lost half the games. And what you got to think of as well, as if the 18 wins out of 54 isn't bad enough, when you consider the amount of money that we've spent and the style of football that we have to watch. How many of those games did we control? You know, the wins. If you just look back to the recent 4 wins, you know, against, well, I suppose if you focus on Nottingham Forest, if you focus on Burnley, TSC, Spurs, how many games have we controlled? How many games have we dominated? How many games have we deserved to win? Now, this is, and it goes back beyond 18 months because we were crap for the second half of the previous season. So this is around about 2 years. But if you're not concerned about entertainment and you're not concerned about anything like that, you know, it's all, you know, it's results are all that matters, then please explain to me how this is acceptable. And I appreciate that at the moment we're sitting 9th, and if we'd have got a win, we could have gone to 6th place. But therein lies a problem. Therein lies a problem. David Moyes had a chance, like he's had several times before in his managerial career. He did it at Everton as well. And the guy doesn't have the ambition. He doesn't. Now, if I was a West Ham owner and I've thrown almost £500 million at the West Ham squad in 3.5 years under David Moyes' ownership, his management, sorry, not ownership. Thank God it's not his ownership. I wouldn't want to be hearing that we're not good enough for top 6. That's what he said. He basically said we're not good enough for top 6. And you know what? I make him right. We're not good enough. But it's got nothing to do with the players and the personnel. We're never going to be good enough for top 6 with David Moyes at the helm. You know, we've conceded 85 goals 85 goals in 54 games, playing a fucking low block. playing a low block. A defensive manager playing the most defensive of styles. And we've conceded 85 goals. If you just look at this season alone, we've played 16 games. 16 games, he's conceded 30. Now, people talk about XG and they talk about everything else. Well, you've got expected goals for and expected goals against. We're basically where we should be. This is kind of our expected goals tally, if you like. So that's almost 2 goals a game for a defensive manager playing a low block. So please help me understand how this is in any way acceptable. There's no entertainment. There's nothing. You know, that feeds into the atmosphere, you know, the match day experience. Although there was an atmosphere away at Fulham, credit to the fans. But beer does funny things to people. And we are great supporters, especially on the road we are. But this is all having an impact. So what I'm saying is how? Why? Why is he still here? What right has he got to still be here? You know, if we were Sheffield United and we weren't spending money and, you know, we just wanted to exist in the Premier League, fine. You won't be picking this apart. But we're spending money to compete. That's what we're doing. And the guy, he's trying to lower our expectations. He's completely altered his mindset from this big team mentality. Oh, no, scrap that, bin that. No big game mentality. You can't expect to go up against the likes of Aston Villa and expect to win. You know, look at their resources. A team that have spent less than us in the same period. Now, everyone at West Ham, everyone that his bosses will be monitoring this, and they will be, and they'll be listening to his words and going, what are you talking about? In exactly the same way as we are. Of course they will. They're going to. But I just don't understand. I can't fathom how that can be. Bearing in mind 30 goals in 16 games this season, how many games were our goalkeepers man in a match? How many times have we come up against opposition that have spurned chances? Do you know what I mean? So, like we've said, this result, we've all said it. Most people that have watched the games have said, we've got a battering coming. So this isn't a shock. It's not a surprise. It really isn't. But the fact of the matter is, as we know, it was a completely embarrassing day for David Moyes. It was ridiculous. We know we had a few players. Look, it's winter cold time of year. All right, so we had Alvarez and Emerson that were suffering with a bug, whatever it was. All right, Alvarez got sent home. Fornals, who apparently was the worst affected with this virus, was played. He was played out on the left wing against Fulham. He was. So let's just wrap this all up with the virus as well. So he was played out on a left wing against Fulham. He's not a left winger. We had a fully fit Ben Rama. We had a fully fit Cornet on the bench. Completely fully fit. Okay? We played Lucas Paqueta, who in David Moyes' own words has been carrying an injury for some time. A guy whose performances are just, they're going down the toilet. The fan base are getting the ump with him. We marked him a 0 on our player ratings. He's playing with an injury. But he was forced out onto that field. Aaron Cresswell. Why did he play? You've got Johnson there, who's someone who we're trying to get him to sign a new deal. We know that Cresswell's gone. He's gone. He doesn't want to be here anyway. So why are we wasting time on him? You've got other players. You've got Ollie Scholes at left back that we could use from the youth academy. Why are we wasting a space on Cresswell? He got absolutely roasted. And like I say, Johnson, we know he can do a good job out at left back if you need him. You've got Maxwell Cornet, who is an actual left back. He's a left back / wing back. Basically Emerson. Why would you not use him? You've got square pegs in round holes all over the place. You've got James Ward-Prowse, who started the season so well, playing in a more advanced position. Couldn't have been any better. All of a sudden, he's been pulled back to CDM. We've got no midfield. None. You know, the cross that came in for Polina for the first goal, completely unchallenged. You know, no wonder it was an amazing cross. He had no pressure on him whatsoever. So he completely picked out Jimenez at the back post. And you can criticise Aguero and you can criticise all these players, but the fact of the matter is, I've said it so many times, you lose that midfield battle, invariably you're going to lose the game. That's what's going to happen. We don't have a midfield, with or without Alvarez. Alvarez helps. He throws his body on the line. But you need more than one man. And Souček and James Ward-Prowse are ghosts in that part of the midfield. They don't have the the defensive awareness. They don't have the engine. They don't have the physicality. It's pointless. And Souček doesn't have the intelligence. The guy runs 200 kilometres in a game and touches the ball 3 times. All you'll ever see from him is just him running around in circles chasing the ball. You know, the clever players, they know where they need. If you remember Declan Rice, you would hardly ever see Declan Rice busting a gut to get anywhere because he was already there. Souček's never there. He's just chasing it. He's just chasing the ball all the time. So when you add all of these things up and you think, you know, on top of the poor performances recently that we've seen, you know, as 18 months, let's just say 18 months, you know, this kind of hammering has been coming. David Moyes is still insisting on doing the same things, enforcing the same mistakes, sending us out onto a pitch with injured players out of position, you know, players that are out of form, players that are ill. You know, and when he made those changes at half time, because this was all down to fatigue, apparently, all of this was down to fatigue. That's why we lost. We knew what was happening when we came into this 10-game period. David Moyes knew full well what he had to prepare for. He knew it. You know, there was no thought of rotation, getting players up to speed, getting them motivated. Whenever he refers to backup players, he refers to them as backup players. You know, players that he doesn't really trust to come on and make a difference. And then when we see these guys that are not match sharp in any way and they're not motivated, we're all surprised, as is David Moyes, that they're not coming on and pulling up trees. None of it makes any sense. He should have been getting us prepared for this period. But, you know, similar happened last year. Piss poor planning. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that is David Moyes. There's no planning. He just chances his arm all the time, carries on flogging the same players into the ground over and over again, waiting for them to fall to pieces. I mean, we played a long ball yesterday. We played a long ball against Fulham, particularly in the second half. I mean, the first 10 minutes were good, but once Fulham grew into the game, that was it. Straight back to Moyes' ball. Deep, low defensive block. Aguero and Soufal hoofing hopeful long balls up to no focal point. So we're playing a long ball with no target men. Go figure. So ball goes up. Fulham win the ball, and we get wave after wave after wave of attack. Fulham didn't even get out of second gear. You know, we were lucky. We were so lucky in that game. They had quite a few chances that they missed. Fabianski made some good saves. That could have been a cricket score. It could have been a cricket score. 5-0 didn't tell the full story. That was how bad that was, and it isn't going to be the last time it happens. Now, we know that they're fatigued. They're going to be fatigued, but apparently it's this devastating virus that Pablo Fornals was able to play in the first half with, and Emerson was able to come on in the second half with. So it's hardly debilitating, is it? What they got, winter colds, you know? And even if there is a few players that are suffering with it, it's that time of year. You've got Spurs who have got 9 injuries. You've got Newcastle who have got God knows how many injuries. Proper injuries, not sniffles. You know? But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't a virus, Moyes. The virus is you. The reason that these players were so knackered and so unable to go out and pursue that game was because they were knackered, because they've been flogged into the ground and they can't do it every 3 days. They can't play to that level of intensity with the style of play that we've got. Fulham could do it. That was their 3rd game in 8 days. Fulham could do it. But the reason is because they control the game. It's far easier with the ball. You know, we basically spend the whole 90 minutes chasing the ball, the levels of concentration that you must have when you are conceding possession and just inviting the opposition on to stay switched on. And he never wakes up. There's never any repercussions for any of these mistakes that keep on happening. You know, it's always the players. Aguero's made a mistake. Mavropanos has made a mistake. Cresswell's made a mistake. Soufal's made a mistake. Alvarez has made a mistake. At some point, these players ain't shit. At some point, you've got to start looking at this and going, look, yeah, you can blame the players all you want. If it was 1 error or if it was 2, but this is every game. At some point, you've got to start thinking this is systemic. 100%. This is down to coaching and poor management. You know, at what point do these players get held to account for their mistakes? At what point does Aguero get pulled out of the team for these repeated mistakes? It doesn't matter. Their positions are not under threat. We've seen it time and time again. Players like Souček can go missing for half a season. He's still the first name on the team sheet. There is no accountability. There's no people go on like he's a strong leader. He's not. He's not. You should be scared and upset when you make a mistake. Fucking terrified when you make a mistake like what? Fair enough. Mavropanos got pulled out the team again, but he was only in there to replace Zuma. But Aguero, how many mistakes has he got to make? Aguero, a guy that Moyes chased for 3 windows. He's his man. He's never going to come out of the team. Do you know why? Because like James Ward-Prowse, who takes a corner, Aguero's got that lovely left foot where he can ping the odd perfect pinpoint ball to someone like Kudus's foot. He plays the averages game, the law of averages, a numbers game, but he relies on a heavy amount of luck, a ridiculous amount of luck. There is nothing intelligent about the way David Moyes plays. We got the piss taken out of us by Fulham. That's what happens when it clicks for the opposition. And they've probably laid a bit of a blueprint for anyone else coming at us because we were useless and it was nothing to do with just fatigue. They would have beat us at the start of the season when we was fresh as well. Because we are not a good team. We've got loads of good players. Somebody else could come in and pick this lot up and we would be fine. But this is what I'm struggling to understand now. You know, is it just, is the argument purely what he did when he first came in and he got us to 6th and 7th place, which I've already openly accepted he did well when he came in, but then he should have moved on, and he managed to scrape that final win, you know, against Fiorentina. Is that the reason he's still here? Is that the reason we've got to stick with this man? Is that the reason why he is the right man for our future? Is that there's no one else that could do better than what we're doing at the moment? Fundamentally, everything is wrong. If you've got an under-21s team that are winning everything in terms of... They're cleaning up. They're winning the league. They're winning the cups. They're winning everything else. They are a team. They're match fit. I know they're playing at a different level. But you know what? A left-back playing in a team like that is going to be no worse than Aaron Cresswell, who hasn't played any games and who's completely unmotivated. Why is Paqueta continuing to be played injured? It's because, and I'll tell you why. It's because Paqueta's capable, even when he plays shit, of the odd moment of brilliance to win you a game. And that is what David Moyes relies on. He doesn't rely on systems and passages of play and, you know, the team beating someone. He relies on individuals beating someone. That's why he has to keep James Ward-Prowse in there in case we get a corner. That's why he keeps Souček on there in case we need someone to get on the end of a corner. That's why he keeps Paqueta on there when he's literally got one leg, because he's got the ability to pull a rabbit from the hat. And that's why he keeps Aguero on the pitch, because he can ping them long balls. This is the way David Moyes' mind works, honestly. And this virus is absolute nonsense. It's a PR stunt. First of all, I think they should have been given 2 days off anyway, because as we know, they've not trained Monday. They're not in today either. They weren't in yesterday. They're not in today. They're back tomorrow. So they've been given 2 days to rest and recover. That's got fuck all to do with the virus. That's because they needed a rest, because they were on their arses. But the virus narrative plays in nicely for David Moyes. He's now got an excuse. Well, everyone was ill. But we played exactly the same against Burnley, the same against TSC, the same against Nottingham Forest until we went a goal down, and the same against Spurs in the first half, where we should have been absolutely annihilated. Did we have a virus in those games as well, or did we just get punished this time? You know? So I'm very keen and very interested to see what David Moyes does in this upcoming game, Freiburg, because it is an incredibly, incredibly important fixture. You know, there are some absolutely superb teams that could be dropping down from the Champions League in third place into the draw, which is on Monday the 18th. So if we don't win against Freiburg or draw, but we've got to play for the win, I think we're bang in trouble. I mean, it's another 2 fixtures that we don't need. We don't need more fixtures for a start, but it's going to be against a good team. You know, I was looking through the list, and I think the best that you can hope for is someone like Young Boys, but they're not a bad team. Or Lens, or Lon, however you say it, who beat Arsenal. They're all brilliant teams that are gonna want to run in the Europa League, because they're going to want Champions League football again next year. And that's to go with the raft of good players that are already in that competition. Leverkusen, Liverpool. There's loads of good teams in that competition. So I'm really, really concerned with Thursday. I hope he gets it right. I don't really know what I want him to do, because I say I want us to go out on the front foot and attack the team, but I think we have the players to do it. I know we have the players to do it, but I have no faith that David Moyes can deliver that type of football. I think he can only do the low block, and he does it badly. He's a defensive manager that does it badly. 30 goals in 16 games. You do the maths. How can that even be a thing? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, you're all going to make your own minds up at the end of the day in terms of Moyes, but I can't understand or fathom the excuses anymore. I can't. The arguments are kind of expiring now, if you ask me. But moving on to the next manager rumours. Now, anyone who listens to the More Than Just a podcast would have heard that Canning Town Len, who has got fantastic connections with ex-players and current players, because he does a lot of work with... he works in those circles, basically. He went out for a meal and spoke to a few people who gave him great information that Michael Carrick has been... I wouldn't say approached, he's been felt out. So they asked him the question: if the job was available in the summer, would you want the job? So Michael Carrick has been sounded out for the role, as well as quite a few other people. And this isn't from Canning Town Len. So we know that from what I know, from what I've been told, the manager's already been chosen, and it's almost a done deal. But let's play the game. Let's have a look at the names that were or are on the list. Okay, so Ruben Amorim is another one. Xabi Alonso is. People don't want to accept that, but Xabi Alonso is on that list. You know, the guy that has gone something stupid like 20 games this season, unbeaten, 4 draws, the rest of wins. Mental, you know. If we got him, talk about a lottery win. Michael Carrick, I don't think Middlesbrough are doing amazing this year. I think they're not as good as they were last season, but the football that he's got them playing, a very, very bang average team, is impressive. If anyone wants to go and watch them, they're good. Michael Carrick would excite me. He would. And he probably would fit the Tim Steidten mould. He's a type of manager that Steidten would probably go for, if I'm being honest. You know, he doesn't. He doesn't. He'll pick someone that fits the philosophy that he wants to embed in the squad. So stop it. So yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think he'll do. The other one is Alexander Blessing. I can't think of the name of the team. They're flying high in the Belgium league at the moment. And who's the geezer that was managing Frankfurt when we played them? Oliver Glasner, is it? I think that was him. He's another one that's apparently on the list. It's a big list, you know. Steidten doesn't mess about. So a lot of these names have kind of come out and they've been out there in circulation. The only one I've not heard anything concrete about is Potter. Only from fans. Fans speak about Potter, but I've not heard that name mentioned by any sources or anything like that. So they're very different names that are coming to me. But it's good that Carrick's on that list. You know, a young English manager. That would be fine. That'd be fine for me. I'm just up for anything new. I've got to be honest at this moment in time. Let me know who your choice would be. Right. The new investor. Are we getting a new investor to buy 10% or up to 25% of the gold shares, or is there going to be a takeover? Right now, from what I've been told, there are tons of investors bidding for West Ham at the moment. But it's a type of investment that we get at the minute, that whether that's going to fit. We know that the Qatari investment fund want the club, but they want if not to own it outright, which they would prefer, they want the controlling stake. Apparently, Kretinsky has agreed to sell his shares, so Kretinsky's up for selling, basically. The Golds are obviously up for selling their shares, but I'm sure there is a percentage that they've got to hold back, because I think there is a percentage of shares out of that 25 that are in trust for Scarlet. So I don't think they can sell them all, but surely if they could sell enough to give them the controlling stake over Sullivan, they would probably go for it. But the Qataris are very, very interested. They have been since the start, and things are finally starting to move. As we know, Rothschild went out on behalf of the Golds to sort of go out and feel out the market to get a true valuation of the share, so they could maximise their return. And this is also an exercise that Sullivan and Kretinsky were in on, because if they're going to sell, they want the maximum amount. The only question mark here, really frustratingly, is over Sullivan, because as I said, Sullivan, Kretinsky's happy to sell. Obviously, the Golds will sell, you know. But it's whether or not Sullivan will, whether or not he's going to want to keep his grubby little paws on this, you know. And I just really wish he would just cut his losses and go. The other one I'm not going to talk about because it's been reported. It was reported on the more than just a podcast, and on The Voice and on a few other channels as well, is the American investor. Um, he is interested. He is. He was the ex CEO of Activision. I can't think of his name. If you want to know his name, just go and Google it. It's kind of out there in the press at the moment. But I can't see that one happening. He just wants an investment. That's another Kretinsky. I think that might be Sullivan's ideal scenario, because I think Sullivan still does want to keep his grubby hands in on this. I do. So I think he would just like another investor to come in and throw some money into it. And we'll end up with this fucking consortium of strangers, which is just a nightmare situation. It really, really is. I don't know who I would prefer out of American ownership. And bearing in mind, this guy has not got a good history either. I don't actually know what that is, but people were losing their minds when they found out it was him that we were linked with. Yeah, not the best past, but then again, how many billionaires are whiter than white, if you like? Have not done anything wrong. I don't know. It's probably very difficult to get that rich difficult to get that rich without treading on someone's toes. But I suppose there's treading on toes and then there's being a scumbag. Look at our one. But yeah, I don't know. For me, I've been saying it since day one. I think it's going to be the Qataris for me. I just think that they're going to need a controlling stake. They're not going to want to come in and be an investor and sit on the board. They're going to want to come in and call the shots. Whether or not you're going to be happy with that, I don't know. But all I know is, look, it wouldn't be my personal choice, but I don't really want American ownership either. Because the more people that take over American clubs, the more chance you've got of this becoming the Premier League, becoming even more of a joke. Becoming like a franchise. Fucking VAR adverts and things like that. They'll really make the most of that, won't they? And they can make changes if they've got enough ownership models in clubs. I think it's 14. If you got 14 people, then you can start making serious changes. That's how I understand it. But yeah, for me, out of the ones that are interested, it probably would be the Qataris that I would go for. Again, wouldn't be ideal. I would have liked Ratcliffe, but that's off the table now. So I don't necessarily want this American. I don't just want Gold to sell 10% of their shares. 10%. They've got 25, so they're going to sell 10% of the club, not 10% of their shares, because that would be 2.5%. So I just want a change. We need a change, and this could be the reason why David Moyes is still here. Absolutely, it could be. They might see David Moyes as a safe pair of hands. They know he's pissing the fan base off, but maybe they didn't want the upheaval of changing everything. And maybe that's the reason why. Maybe that's the reason why David Moyes is still here. Maybe when the new owners come in, that's when you'll see a change. I don't know. But one thing is for sure, when you look at the numbers and you look at what we're actually watching with our eyes at the minute with David Moyes, none of this makes any sense whatsoever. It really doesn't. And it's got to change soon, because the worry is, if it does run until February, which is what's been touted, they're not going to make a change until February. We could be out. We'll likely be out the EFL Cup. We could be out the Europa, and our league aspirations of getting anywhere near sixth place could be gone. If we go losing 3, 4, 5 more games in that time, they're going to be gone. So yeah, it's really frustrating. It's really weird what's happening at West Ham at the moment. But let me know what your thoughts are on that anyway. Like I say, the Qataris are still there. They're not sniffing around. They've got concrete interest, as does the other guy that's been mentioned now, and as do several other investors. So I've been told there's quite a few people that want to get their grubby hands on West Ham. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting one, really. We're going to need some luck to make sure we get the right people in. But I'm ready for a change now. I'm fed up with this. So bring it on. That's what I say. Bring it on. But anyway, look, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll speak to you soon, and come on, you irons.